And I believe, Tony, is this a best of 5 or best of 3? Here we go. So second game of our best of 3. We already have one game going towards Team Get You of a 1-game advantage. And now LCS definitely has to win this next game or else they're out. So, Dan, let's go over the bans here. Twisted Fate, pretty much a tier 1 AP mid champion these days, and even with the current patch. Same with Ezreal. Thanks to the Chinese teams in Asia, they definitely repopularized Ezreal with blue build, I'd say. Most people kind of wrote Ezreal off as as not a strong AD carry, but as you can see, he's very heavily contested, yes. Right? So.
Yeah, with the new blue build on Ezreal, it makes it really difficult to engage on Ezreal, and the prolonged fights will always go on Ezreal's side. Like, he'll have the advantage in the long run, always.
Yeah, and he's mainly about kiting and doing as much damage over time as opposed to burst, where people heavily go into, like, you know, BF swords and stuff like that. So, great ban on both sides. Definitely don't want to deal with a global ult from Twisted Fate or Ezreal blue build. Kennen and Zac and Nocturne and Thresh. Seems like Team LCS learned their lesson from last game, banning out that Thresh. Thresh is also a tier 1 support player, champion as well. Nocturne is still fairly strong, actually. Late game, he actually kind of shines a bit more. His late game potential is strong, but so is his early game potential. His main job is to do as much damage burst and snowball lanes as possible, I suppose, eh?
You see the Nocturne ban out on GGU's side. That's probably directed against Doctor, one of Doctor's most played junglers. We see, I don't know what support this guy's picking. Huh. Possibly Lulu. Yes.
Yeah, LCS side is blue side, but interesting for once. Actually, I think Lulu is his #1 support. Doing some research last night, he has the most games playing Lulu, so that's going to be very interesting to see. He's very comfortable in that role, and it's going to be pretty tough for whoever's playing support on GGU's side. But yeah, Lulu's not the easiest to deal with. She has long range poke, able to her ultimate actually just knocks back people away, and she can also make people run faster. Kind of same type of kit as Sona in a sense, although not as much sustain.
Yes.
With the Varus pick again, ooh, Kha'Zix. So Kha'Zix is also high tier champion, able to do huge burst potential. I actually tend to see more Kha'Zix, especially at platinum level play, diamond level play. I do see Kha'Zix's in the middle as opposed to jungle, just because of that dominating range of his Q strikes and stuff too. Shen pick again, but a Graves pick. Or a Caitlyn pick. Or an MF pick, maybe? Now it looks like Platoon might stay with Caitlyn. I think I know that Platoon, Caitlyn is actually his second best AD carry according to his games, but it depends on what his team needs. Oh, looks like he does stay with Graves. Interesting. And that looks like Permanent Love doing a little bit of joking around here. Nunu? Maybe? Actually, Nunu wouldn't really be that bad a pick. But, I mean, you can either do... I've seen a lot of top Nunus, actually. Top Nunu is actually ridiculously strong. People don't actually realize this, that his ability to sustain in lane is... It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
He just eats a creep and he gains like 80% of his health back. So it's going to be really interesting to see. And I have actually seen Nunu's shut down Shen's top. But a Galio pick, it's possible. I think he's trolling the casters.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let him do whatever he feels is best. Galio, oh man, Galio's actually one of my favorite champions back when he was released in Season 2. I actually got gold with him in Season 2, so that's pretty fun. But the composition of teams right now looks like Team LCS is kind of going for an AoE comp once again. Virus's ultimate, Sona's ultimate, and the nice thing about Galio's ultimate, in case people have forgot, is that once he can flash in ultimate, and what that does is it makes everybody it's basically an AoE taunt.
Yes.
And the more damage that Galio takes in, the more damage that he outputs after his ult is done channeling. But yeah, run us by the blue team side.
Blue team looks like probably they'll have a heavy initiate team with the Jace and Lulu speed up. They could speed up the Elise, and Elise could catch in combination of a Shen ult that would taunt the enemy team. Once Lulu would get close enough, he could ult the Elise as well, preventing the purple team to get away. But due to the purple team's team comp, they have AoE engage. So depending on how well blue team engages, purple team could react and counterattack that fight. And with the AoE stun, lockdown, virus, ult, snares, it could basically just disable the whole blue team.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very interesting as Shen does have that global ult again. It'll be interesting to see if he can split push as easily as he could last game. We do have high mobility on Sona's side, and Galio with the gust of wind and the high movement. So they'll be able to move around the map quickly. And same with Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix can jump around and start pretty much snowballing lanes if he chooses to jungle, or if he chooses to mid lane. He can start roaming, start doing some heavy damage, wrecking havoc everywhere across the map. So yeah, Elise jungle. I've heard it works really well, but I personally haven't seen it myself, unfortunately.
It's incredible, yeah. Elise jungle, if you can play Elise jungle well, you have to be careful of ganks.
Okay.
Elise jungle can dive turrets really early. Once she uses her E into the air, she loses all turret aggro. And once she lands, as long as there's a minion or someone's taking the aggro, Elise loses the turret aggro and can just get away with barely any HP.
Yeah. No problem. Sorry. So we're just actually waiting on one of the players, but we have a delay in game, so pause is happening. But yeah, you guys at home can't really see that since we're still in stream delay. But let's just talk about talk about Lulu Graves versus Virus Sona. What's going to happen there, Dan?
So we saw the Virus Sona pick last game by LCS. Incredibly strong. You saw it against the 2v1 lane. Shen took a lot of damage at top lane. And the Graves Lulu, Graves is usually a really strong champion in an all-in. With the Lulu slow shield and this, what is it, like disable that turns him into a squirrel, it'll put Graves in an advantage in an all-in, I believe. As long as they don't take too much poke from the Sona, because Sona is quite strong with her Q.
Definitely. Okay, so we're diving into the game right now. But yeah, going along with what you said about Sona and Varus, the whole burst potential versus long-range poke, I guess. So it'd be burst potential. Oh, well, then again, Sona does long-range poke burst potential as well. But I'm going to say I think the matchup might go towards... I want to say Varus and Sona.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say Varus and Sona. Unless Graves is able to do his E-steroid boost, dash in, shotgun, walk away again, just over and over. If they are able to catch Sona off guard, or perhaps Varus, because Varus is pretty squishy in the early stages of the game, then maybe they can turn something around, as Graves is tankier than Varus, so we'll have to see. Although Varus outranges Graves, I would say, by a long shot. Yeah. Far range poke. So Varus is just going to actually be careful. Probably going to have to do a lot more queuing channeled arrows for long range burst potential, I'd say.
Although most Varuses I know that play Varus, like Varus players, they do not max the Q first. Because of the time it takes to charge it, they could get an extra auto off or two, which does more damage than the Q itself.
No, and also the mana cost as you level it higher. I don't even really think it's worth it at early levels, right?
Yeah, it's not worth it.
It's mainly the his W and E abilities that really kind of make Varus able to harass effectively. So we're just actually coming off from a pause. So the reason, like I said before that happened, just one of our players kind of had a call of nature, so he kind of had to take care of business. But for those of you at home, we sort of kind of see the first buys here. Very similar buys with Lulu and Sona. They got a biscuit. They have, sorry, not even a buy. They just have the biscuit and the extra ward, the Explorer ward. So we do know both teams have gone down the utility tree effectively. But yeah, let's take a rundown of some stats here. You have Team Get Good You, so you can, Dan, tell the people at home how well these people play. Or unless you want me to go first, I guess.
You can go first.
So for Team LCS Denied Us, who are on the blue side? Yes, blue side. Yeah, like I said before, Docta is very strong at jungling. He's very comfortable with Nocturne, Xin Zhao, Skarner, Taric, and Elise. Even though Elise is his 5th most played hero, it is on that list, so they probably should be aware as we do see a normal KDA of about 3.5, 5, and 7, which probably means heavy, you know, presence in lanes, multiple assists. If your KDA for assists is that high, I mean, you know, you're going to be really putting aggression, making plays, you know, trying to carry your team with that. All right, so here we go. Beginning of the game. Pause is undone. I'm just going to keep going over. I don't think Onion Bagel was able to make it, unfortunately, but that would have been interesting to see. One-on-ones, like I said, strongest champion that he plays is Lulu, and he has the most games with her. Heavy. So, you know, we're probably going to see a lot of cool stuff from him coming out. Platoon is their AD carry. Ezreal, Caitlyn, Draven, Varus, Misfortune. So he's not quite playing his most played champions, but, I mean, he only plays AD carry. So he really knows that bottom lane matchup fairly well, especially since if he plays Varus as his 4th played champion, he's going to know how to effectively react to a Varus Sona bottom lane. He just knows the insides and outsides of that. But yeah, so going over to your side, Team Get Good You.
So we have GGU's AD carry Tails CN. His most played is Ezreal, followed by Graves, Caitlyn, and Vayne. In this game, you see he's playing neither of them. He is playing both the Varus. Probably the pick for the team rather than just lane phase. I see Permanent Love, GGU's top lane. And he's running Kha'Zix. He's not playing Kha'Zix too much in his top stats, usually Singe, Vlad, Darius, Renekton, Lee Sin. Typically tanky diver, whereas Kha'Zix is a squishy assassin. We have Mr. Jiggly playing the Galio. Pretty untraditional. I've actually personally never seen him play it. It's definitely not in his top 5 stats. but GGU's always unpredictable with their picks, so we never know what's going to happen.
Kind of exciting to watch that way.
Yes, definitely.
Super unconventional. But yeah.
Then we have their jungler, Dragon Raider, whose most played is J4. That's who's playing this game. They played a great J4 last game. So, I mean, actually not last game, played Zac. J4, I've seen him play a lot of J4. He's really strong jungler. So you can expect a lot of plays in the lanes.
Oh wow, and an Ignite and heavy poke burst damage going from Lulu onto Sona. Very confident in trying to get that done. Oh, but a J4 flash! Flag, and the red buff goes off with the blue, and Varus gets the first blood. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so what J4 did there was if you flash right as you're about to hit the standard, you actually knock up whoever you flash on top of, which is what he did there. It deals no damage, but the knock-up gave GGU that brief moment where they could insta-give him and just clean up. And it was a risky move, but it definitely paid off there with the first blood.
And sometimes that's all you really need is just the CC stun. It's just more effective instead of the damage. But yeah, it's typically like that in League of Legends where your CC like silences, fears. Sometimes they don't do a lot of damage, but you can do a sheer amount of damage just within that small second. So it kind of evens out. But wow, that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that's the first time I've seen it live.
So here we go. We're just about CS now. With that first blood, Varus was able... he actually didn't go back to buy in lane. He probably doesn't want to miss this huge creep wave of experience. He may or may not decide to go back just to buy and actually pull advantage in this lane even harder, which is probably a good thing to do. I see a lot of Diamond and Plat players doing that. Once you get first blood, clearing the creep wave, when you freeze the lane, you just go back and buy, dominate the lane again. But yeah, it's 21 CS to 31 for Graves. Oh, and Elise coming in to gank as well. Burst potential going off on Sona. Sona flashing, hiding behind the towers, but it doesn't look like she's going... Oh, but a miscalculation on Graves. Barrier and flash, but ends up dying anyways. Double kill going off on Elise, but I don't know if that was worth it.
For GGU?
Graves is just going to be a lot more vulnerable to J4's ganks now that Flash and Barrier are down. There is a 3-minute timer on that, so if that's communicated effectively through Team GGU, then they're going to want to keep harassing that lane heavily, especially since they already got first blood. So
I think what LCS will do here, at least with grabbing double kill, he'll probably definitely roam and clean up the other lanes, maybe gank top or mid. That least gank was what I was talking about. Just dive and get away with barely any HP. The gank's so powerful with the snare, the percentage damage, the AoE damage. It's incredible.
Yeah, it was a really unfortunate part for Graves. I don't even know if he needed to be there, or I mean, Lulu was pretty low, so potentially the burst potential for Elise onto Sona wouldn't be enough. So at least he got the assist, but he had to die for it too. So, although it's not that bad. He 1 death, 1 assist, 38 CS to 30 CS for Varus. However, Varus does have 2 kills, and he's already able to get his Bilgewater Cutlass, so he's going to be able to sustain a lot better in lane than Graves here. And the help of Sona's healing abilities will potentially make him stay in lane for
forever.
Yeah, forever, pretty much. So yeah, I don't know if J4 even needs to come back down. He might just focus top and middle lane, actually. So both teams just pretty much trading. Not too much going down, but we do see on the mini-map, Elise is making a move. Hopefully communication going towards the team. There actually is no ward from LCS side in the tri-bush, so she's coming in through the bottom brush side, hoping to come up, but probably telling Platoon to push up the lane, making sure there's no sight. Lulu's actually going for it. Dive going in, Ignite is going off on Varus, but he's taking a lot of damage. Oh, and Tails actually makes it out alive. That last tick on Ignite didn't go off, but perhaps they could have been a little more patient. Elise was already in the bush. Perhaps they have waited a little longer. I mean, LCS didn't have any. They didn't have a ward. They wouldn't have known if it was coming up or not. So, doesn't quite matter. Sona can't really handle this. The tower goes down. They sent Varus back. He's losing XP, so it's still pretty good as a kill.
Yeah, it's still pretty good to play. At least did waste a bit of time there, but they still won the fight and turret as well. Actually, they're not taking turret yet, leaving with 1 tick left.
Oh no!
Probably setting up a gank afterwards. You get false security when you see a turret on the map. Sometimes you don't realize how much health it has.
But I mean, perhaps they didn't figure to. They probably figured the minions would get it, and they also didn't have a ward up. So they're probably playing it safe, thinking that they don't want to stay too long. Ooh, and some early damage going off on Shen, just being able to peek around the bush just because of his ward giving sight. Graves not being able to trade too well with Varus. Oh, but Jarvan down at the bottom is in the like I said, there's no ward for Team GGU, but oh, and ultimate going off onto, and Shen with the ultimate. Great map awareness, saving Lulu's life. Holy cow. But that leaves Kha'Zix free to pretty much push as hard as he can on the top lane. And unfortunately, Shen's going to lose a lot of experience for that. Just saving a support and being denied CS. So, was it worth it?
Yeah,
don't know.
Probably save Lulu's life. Elise was near top, so she can grab the XP that Shen will lose.
It probably was worth it, actually.
Yeah, it's probably worth it.
Just because if the support goes down, Graves is left all alone. He has no mana. J4, Varus, and Sona would have been able to push, counter push back bottom lane, potentially lose the tower. So Lee is actually going right off. Oh! And Kha'Zix, will he get away? He had to use his ultimate. No, he does not get away. At least doing some heavy damage, double blue buff, being able to use her ultimate to kind of get in front of Kha'Zix, even with his invisibility. That red buff pretty much destroyed him. So.
Yeah, Elise has great catching potential. Just when you play against her, you just have to remember that. You never expect when she'll jump on you. Especially with the red buff, it's pretty difficult to get away.
Although you do have to land your skill shots. So.
Yes, of course.
Otherwise, those spiders are pretty much useless. So here we go. Now Lulu's smartening up. Definitely bought wards for bot lane. Doesn't want to get caught off guard again by J4. That's the second time now that he's come down. But Varus and Sona have to be very careful. And as we see here, Elise is actually flanking across. And only now that Sona put down the wards, but the pings are going off down on Sona, and Lisa's actually coming around and flanking, and we see here that she's, Sona actually flashed them, using her flash. J4 coming to the rescue of Sona, but now Team GGU have to kind of get back. They are now on the run. Oh, she gets caught. Elise is actually getting flagged. Huge burst, but the Lulu all goes off. I don't think that's going to save her. Now Team LCS is setting up for a dragon. That's a great play. Unfortunately, it didn't work out quite so well. Elise's team actually couldn't commit onto Sona, just out of position, and couldn't get there fast enough. But a pink ward from GU tried to steal it, just wasn't able to, and LCS is able to... Sorry, LCS was the...
It was a team that lost the dragon.
Team that lost.
Yeah.
Got my stuff mixed up here. I'm just going to do this. So yeah. Now the money score now is about 15.8 to 17. Definitely the lead up goes to Team GetGetU as they got the dragon. But yeah. Kha'Zix now trying to do a lot of harassment. He does have a big creep wave, so Shen will have to be careful not to take too much aggro, as you never want to take damage when you don't have to. But now he's TPing back. Shen doesn't have his... Shen's just trying to farm. I think the lane has been frozen enough. But yeah, tell me what's going on here, Dan. What's LCS have to do to kind of maintain more map control?
So right now you see the bottom half of the map, LCS is controlling it pretty well. So they just need to put at least bottom, apply more pressure. At least Gangster is so strong. And with the Shen, it doesn't matter. He could just push top all day until that happens and just teleport down. If Kha'Zix were to be top, only the outer turret would be taken, whereas inner turret for GGU would be gone. And they would probably grab some kills with the Elise gank.
Yeah, no, and the massive pings going off by Team LCS. A warning ping, actually. Galio's in the middle tri-bush. Huge action. Lots of movement going on in the mini-map here. We do see a large spread of 4 players against 4. Middle lane between bottom lane here. Lots of pings. The buffs are pretty much warded on from LCS to Team GetGU sides, but unfortunately they can't do anything about that. Lots of poke potential happening. Ultimate going off, but not really catching anything. So Varus will not have Varus won't have that ultimate for the next fight for maybe a minute or 2, I would say. The cool thing about Galio, as I used to main him, he can pretty much sit in lane and farm until his heart's content. He can, and we see that 139 to Jace's 123. Jace is hanging in there. He's not doing too bad, but we do have a kill on Galio. So, and then of course he already's out his chalice of his chalice. So, you know, if they decide to get into a team fight, he's got extra ability power from this passive of magic resist, plus more ability power. Plus he's going to be able to get that ultimate up quicker for continuous team fights. So his farm is, as far as itemization goes, I think it's actually better than Chase's Manamune.
Yeah, when you build Manamune this early, the mana stacks on it aren't maxed out yet, so the money you're spending isn't efficient for what you're getting out of it. Typically you want to get a different item like a damage and Bloodthirster, or casting against Galio you want to get a Hex Drinker, but he rushed his Manamune first, so in terms of gold, he's even further behind than what he actually has in terms of item. But
if he goes Hex Drinker to Maw of the Mortis, wouldn't that actually hurt his burst potential against Galio though? Like, as far as damage from mid-game? Because we're about 15 minutes in. So if you went Hex Drinker, as opposed to Manamune, would that heavily affect him, or? I
think he'd do better in lane. You wouldn't upgrade to a Maw right away because it's not gold efficient as well. Same thing with Manamune. So you want to leave a Hex Drinker just for the passive. He could go Bloodthirster. I'm not too sure what he's building his pickaxe into right now. Maybe Last Whisper. But you can see that GGU doesn't have too much armor right now. Just the Aegis.
And maybe that's why he's having a little trouble against Galio, not being able to stay in lane as well. Oh, and a jump goes in for Kha'Zix, but he quickly uses his ultimate, doing a little joking around with top lane here. But now we do see J4 now pushing really hard with Galio. Oh, and whoa, and the flash of, what's going on? The Shen ult coming off. Oh, and we see Galio's ult coming back, but Elise actually was on her way. She ults in. Oh, she's taking huge damage. J4 actually able to shut down Elise, and Shen now being kited heavily, but trying to keep and stick on Sona. Sona is, wow, she's moving at a snail's pace here. Ignite goes off, but I don't think that's going to be able to finish her off there, but that was crazy.
Yeah,
the mass, like, crisscrossing, hatching pattern to ooh, and Kha'Zix, barrier, just able to save his life. But wow, yeah, double shields. What most people don't know, if you take barrier, it actually can block true damage. It can block ignite damage. So we do see a lot of AD players, instead of going cleanse these days, we see barrier just because it is effectively able to stop that kind of damage. So that's what saved him, nothing else. He wasn't even overextended. He was at the tower and Kha'Zix just leaped in. So pretty crazy. things are starting to heat up. I would say this is a lot more of aggressive play from both sides than our previous game that we saw. There's a lot more on the line. $900 to be exactly is on the line for these players, so perhaps they really feel it this time around.
This game is much closer than last game. Yeah, I'm not too sure who will win. I can't even call it how close it is right now. You can see the fights are coming out pretty close.
Yeah, they're getting. It almost feels like it's a lot more rushed. It's a lot more panicky. You know, like positioning is very crucial, but things just seem to be kind of confusing on both sides. You know, the panicked flash from Jace against J4 and Galio. So yeah, it's getting a little tight here, folks. Here we see a little bit more map coverage. There's conversion going on both sides. Shen's just pushing top to his heart's content, letting his team deal. But looks like Dragon is up. J4 is pinging. Team LCS Tinnitus is pinging. They have a ward up. They are pinging the Dragon. But the Dragon has been pulled out, and the burst potential on. Oh, no. Mistimed Graves ultimate. Try to steal it. Try to do a good job of doing that, but they just can't engage. LCS cannot engage on this AoE team.
Yeah, that was a pretty good play by GGU. Shen's ult was down because he ulted down mill earlier to shield the Jace, and GGU took advantage of that. Although their top lane is being pushed now, their inner turret.
But yeah, now we see a 3v2 in mid lane. They are definitely trying to take down this as fast as possible, knowing that the other team is split. I think they will actually be able to take it. No, having to back off. Lulu is getting actually pretty low, and they don't know where the other players are at this moment, as there's only 2 wards from both teams in the middle bushes. Nothing really in the jungle. So the back pings go for Jace. Shen's still doing his job of split pushing. Eventually, someone's going to have to stop him, and it looks like Kha'Zix will decide to deal with him. Back pinging going on to Galio. Just people being aware, communicating across the map. Blue buff being pinged by Elise or Jace. Oh, and J4 actually initiating, ultimating onto Jace, and the Galio ult is coming out. Beautifully played. Elise, ooh, they have to back off. Shen actually TPing in, with his ultimate, and Varus and Graves going at it. Varus coming out on top with the static procs from his item. Oh, I don't know. Yes, and Tails manages to take away red buff. Huge damage coming out, but Ignite going off on to J4. J4 getting caught by himself. Elise just being bounced on as well. It's a 3v1 now. Gust goes off, and the high mobility from Sona and Galio could chase, but they decide not to. Don't want to be too over-eager, but now it's a 3v1 in the middle lane here, and it looks like this tower could go down. Blue buff on Galio, red buff on Varus. Not much you can do really there as Lulu.
Yeah, that last fight, I believe Shen ulted the wrong person. The other one, I think it was a Jace. The Jace died too quickly, and Shen ended up ulting the Elise. So I think that was one of the reasons why the fight ended so badly for LCS.
So you're saying he should have ulted the Graves instead, or
yeah,
okay.
The one who was getting bursted.
Or to save,
yeah.
As Jace was already gone, like caught, is what you're saying, I guess. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Definitely more warding needs to be done, and that's what Lulu thankfully is doing. You know, knowing that there's not too much ward coverage. Jace getting caught off guard by J4, so we'll see. We'll see what's happening here. Looks like Team LCS is looking to make a move for top. Elise is actually running through. I don't know if GGU has a ward, but looks like she's flanking across. Shen knows that Elise is coming in. Leap happens, and yes! And she manages to get the snare. Huge burst potential going about, and Shen and Elise managed to clean up. That was great map awareness on Shen. Shen has definitely been doing great this entire tournament. Just able to see Elise coming in, knowing when to initiate and expecting his teammate to follow up, trusting each other, and they totally got that down.
Yes,
so,
definitely well played.
And they were able to take a mid-turret for that as well, just because the other team had to move to stop Shen and Elise. So that was a great play on LCS's part. All right, so now it looks like they're sort of coming a little back. They're trying to make a comeback. We are at 22 minutes, 23 minutes now. We have about a 32 gold, a 3 gold lead advantage for Team Get Good U. Score is only 6-8, and we have 3 towers down for LCS though, as opposed to 1 for GGU.
Yeah.
So
you see both games. LCS always was a team to push, whereas GGU were the ones trying to get the objectives and kills, and the same thing for this game. Although this game is much closer, I feel like because they're a team that typically pushes, it'll pay off more for them due to the gold score, the levels right now, having that extra map awareness, like map control,
right.
It will pay off. Especially with Elise, Shen, they just have so much engaged. Second they see someone with the ward, they can catch, and they can probably take a turret, just take objectives off of that over and over.
Exactly, just being able to see the mobility. Oh, and Jace actually getting caught off guard again. Shenold going onto Jace, trying to save his life. Does the taunt, manages to be able to go directly onto Varus, but the Sono ult actually goes onto Grave, but Varus goes down. Huge ultimate going off for Lulu onto Shen, knocking up. But Kha'Zix jumping towards Jace. Jace, unfortunately, came back into the fight. Just being left alone by his lonely self. Kha'Zix was able to capitalize on that. Great map awareness on the other side's team too, but ping going off and then the snare is being caught. Shen trying to taunt further, but no, she's taking so much damage. Ultimate going off on Elise. Oh! And Kha'Zix being aware enough to come back into the fight, and poor Elise had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Her teams unfortunately had to back off. Potentially, if they stayed, they might have been able to cause more presence. Maybe, you know, set Team GGU a little off of her, but there's nothing much they could have done. If they had stayed, she probably could have went on to the closer side of us. Someone aggroed the tower, she'd be able to safely get out, as we did have a full HP Shen, and so. But unfortunately, it's...
I think that was just a bit of a miscommunication. Elise was too far off, took so much damage into her. There's no one there to help her. Shen missed her taunt, even with dash. She just didn't do enough damage to finish.
And because of that mistake, it actually cost LCS a dragon.
Yes, yet another dragon.
Now the gold lead is at 4K as opposed to 3K. Still down in towers though. But I don't know if that matters. You got a 422 KDA ratio on Varus with 198 CS, but Graves is 122, even though he has 223 CS. He probably just has to focus on just being able to farm harder than Varus, I suppose, in order to be actually useful in teams fights, as that static shift just adds huge amounts of damage. So we'll see. But yeah, it looks like, ironically enough, there's 3 kills on... Oh! Lulus actually takes a lot of damage to the face, half of it actually. But the gust goes off. Team is heavily converging. As we knew, team... oh, and Shen actually manages to taunt through into the Baron Pit, safely getting away. But it's like we mentioned that team picks. So you have Sono high mobility and Galio's heavy gust, able to allow the team to really catch up quickly to LCS denied us slightly slower, I guess, mobility team. The only thing they really have is really Jace to make them go faster. Yeah. So yeah, if he gets taken out, it becomes a little harder to team fight effectively, just because you can get to certain positions in team fights much easier when your team is that highly mobile. So here we go. We are seeing heavy pushing from Team LCS. Shen isn't quite there. So now it's becoming a 4v3. Oh! And the silence goes off. Galio's ultimate wasn't able to proc as much damage. But here we go. Kha'Zix jumping into the AoE J4 pit. Shen hiding. Or sorry, Kha'Zix just kind of dipping in and dipping out with his invisibility, able to shut down Shen, leaping in. Now they're actually engaging. Gus keeping going off, mobility on Sona, but unfortunately Varus wasn't able to finish that off. That arrow just skimmed the butt of Graves. I'm just saying. Kind of nicked his butt, just, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, now because of that, now it's a 4 fairly full HP team. Although Varus is backing off, I don't think they're going to be able to push this. Team LCS is coming back, and Jace is able to pretty much clear waves fairly effectively. So, but Kha'Zix, oh my gosh, Jace decided to stay and he paid for it heavily with his life. Kha'Zix being very aware of what's going on, picking opportunities pretty much left and right. Very, very aware of playing the role of an assassin very effectively. But, you know, Dan, it's quite interesting. J4 has been caught a lot this game out of position. All game, yeah. Unfortunate. It's going to be, whether it's just they're not being able to effectively split push or team fight, as that's been their strategy kind of last game, we'll see how this goes on, I suppose. But yeah, if they are to make a comeback, Chase has to stay alive, just to be able to do a lot more damage over time in team fights instead of being the first one to go down. Now Hirio seems like Lulu's trying to clear out wards. Both team Sona has oracles, able to effectively clear out wards. They look like they're clearing wards for a potential Baron. They're sweeping the area just to be able to effectively control the map in a sense, be able to push, be able to jungle, etc. So huge pings going off. Pings for Shen to continue split pushing, as him split pushing top hasn't really worked. The back pings are going on. Team GGU looks like they're gonna engage again. That's really scary. That Gus combo with Sona. They don't even really need Shirelia's, even though they have it. So
probably saving it for later. Yeah,
and now since, like we mentioned before, they were sweeping the area, now they're potentially setting up for Baron. Oracle's sweeping. They have found a ward, so Team LCS Denied Us knows that they are around Baron, but I don't know if they're going to be able to stop them. No, and here they are. Instead of doing Baron, they're going to quickly engage, trying to catch the other team off guard by trying to flank, but thankfully GGU is aware enough to quickly back off, knowing that they're not doing Baron. Because they had no vision. They could have been totally psyched out into re-engaging onto Baron and then walking into a trap. It's quite clever strategy by LCS.
Yeah, GGU, the bait would have definitely worked a lot better if they had cleared the one ward in the bush. They had one of the players had poked out too far.
Oh wow, huge burst potential going down. Shen can't really handle Varus by himself. But here we go, so now we have a 4v4 engagement going on here at Baron. Not sure if they can deal with this now that Varus is on the bottom. But no, the huge pokes are happening. And looks like both teams are deciding to back off from that team fight. Dragon ping going down, but so is the red buff. Kha'Zix kind of by himself. Sona's deciding to do a lot more sweeping, just making sure that there's no ward inside the pit. Dan, what's going on with items here?
Item-wise, I think Jace is decent damage right now with his poke, not too much damage, because the Last Whisper isn't incredibly goal efficient right now. Jarvan is the only one with heaviest amount of armor, whereas the rest of the team is just building pure damage. Varus pretty good right now with items, probably around 300 attack damage. Same thing with Kha'Zix.
And a huge back ping is going off for Team LCS. As and the re-engagement, the flanks, the ghost item, J4 flashing and blinking in, and the ultimate goes down, but he gets knocked out of his own ultimate. Jace is stuck too, but Kaz is going in. Oh, catching two with three actually. Galley ultimate flashing. Kha'Zix jumping in. Kha'Zix is able to get the ignite off on Jace, but I don't know if he lives. He's dead, and so is Graves. Double kill for Varus, but jeez, that was pretty insane. Unfortunately, they definitely got caught off guard. And actually, that all started with the Seekers coming up from Galio.
Twin Shadow was definitely
able to
strong.
send out his items on that, and easy Baron for Team Get Good You, unfortunately. Nothing much they can do. Although it kind of looks like they're taking a pretty long time to do it. They need to hurry. But no, I don't think with having two people out that LCS is going to engage on them.
They had no smite pressure. The jungler was dead, so it was pretty much free Baron.
That was a really, really good play by GGU. Having all those wards up, they were able to see exactly where LCS was, able to flank and positioning themselves to cut off any kind of exits that they could potentially have, and then just re-engaging with the high mobility. J4 initiating first with his flash, flag, and ultimate was just perfectly executed.
Yeah, you can see GGU's mobility just kick in the catch with Twin Shadows. Once it hits a target, it's 40% slow. It's incredibly difficult, especially if Galio's slow. Stacks on top of that, you have mobility from Galio's Q, you have Sona, and Shirley's. So it's really hard to escape. Even if Jarvan ults and you get out of it, usually there's one champ or two champs stuck inside the ult still, and that just gives the whole team, enemy team, to catch up and just initiate the fight.
Yeah, and the crazy part about that, why that ultimate was so good, it was actually set up in a choke point so that his other teammates couldn't actually come around and start hitting on Jarvan or getting around and flanking towards his other teammates. So it's pretty much J4 taking a lot of the damage. It was a choke point, so the AoE team comp of Team Get Good You could just jump in, focus, ultimate, do whatever they need to within that tight little spot. So yeah. It was a perfectly executed team fight.
Yeah, a really good spot to fight. You can see the Elise just completely melt in that fight. Jump down, Sona alt bar, saw completely frozen. Elise just melted, and then Graves, Kha'Zix had jumped on Graves, but he got bursted. But for Kha'Zix to get bursted, LCS had to stay in the fight a little bit longer, which let the rest of his team catch up. Graves did die, and Kha'Zix did die as well. Unfortunately, due to a Graves snipe, his ult did hit Kha'Zix and last hit him. But because of where the fight was positioned at, they were able to take Baron right after that with ease.
Yeah, definitely. It's top lane going down. Team fights happening in mid probably. It looks like they're heavily pushing middle now. But yeah, lots of pings going down. We do see J4 taking the top lane by himself. No one's actually going to be able to stop him as Kha'Zix is hiding just within a little bit of the forest. He's probably just doing a little poke damage. Varus, now with his steroid, doing huge damage to the tower. Long range arrows doing a lot of poke too. But J4 is still in the jungle. Potentially they're going to come back, and that's what's going to happen. J4 is pinging to his team. He actually flashes over, and ultimates. Gallagher was able to ultimate on Jace as well, and another ultimate going off for Sona. Kha'Zix just definitely trying to jump away, but unfortunately the middle tower is going down as well. So doesn't look like Team LCS can stop this. But it's a 5-man push going down with 3 people down. So,
yeah, this is pretty much GG right here.
Yeah, it looks that way. Heavy pushing. they can pretty much take this out by themselves. Even though some, Graves just can't burst hard enough. Gaston, yeah, it's, oh, but Kha'Zix actually dies. Shen trying a last man effort here, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Jarvan is just way too tanky, peeling huge amounts of damage, taking on 2-on-1, the AD carry and their tank. But yeah, it looks like the Nexus is going down. No one can really stop Varus. Huge damage output. And that's game. That is game with TGGU taking the matchup 2-3.